Hey guys, in this video I'm going to break down a pretty personal story of mine that nearly made me quit appointment setting. And it's really important that you understand and you watch this video through in full, because this is something that I see that gets a lot of new people starting out. And it's one of the reasons why a lot of people quit and they call it saturated or it doesn't work. This is one of the common pitfalls that people fall for, and I've personally experienced it myself. So watch this video through in full and it might just save your appointment setting career. So for those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Aidan Kolinsky. I've been in the appointment setting space for about 2 years now. I've generated well over 1,000 appointments and generated roughly $1 million online working with clients such as Charlie Morgan and William Brown. And it's allowed me to live this lifestyle freedom that everybody talks about, and it's pretty great. So my mission with this channel is to help you get here too, but even quicker, okay? So without further ado, let's get into the story. When I was, do you know what, this wasn't even too long ago. I think it was about just nearly a year ago it was. And I was looking to have more appointment setting clients, okay? And somebody recommended me this position and it sounded great. It was this offer for, I'm not going to break down exactly the details of what the offer was because I don't want to, be rude to the person that it was, and in case they see this video. But I was sent this offer to work for these guys on a pay per sale basis, okay? Now, if you haven't watched my video beforehand, go and watch it and you understand why pay per sale is a bit of a scam for appointment setters. And this is before I understood it. So I was offered pay per sale on a $3,000 offer. Okay, so these guys were selling a program to clients for $3,000, and my job was to book appointments for people getting into this offer, right? And I only get paid if that deal closed, right? And I thought that sounded great. I was a little bit skeptical because I was a bit like, so, okay, I'm relying on the salesperson's sales skills for me to get paid. It was a little bit fishy, but they reassured me on the call. They said, we've got 100 leads a day coming in. They're all really qualified. They've all got 40%. We've all got a 40% closing rate across the company. We're really good at sales. You're going to be absolutely fine. Okay. Now, this is something I want to break down to you guys. Whenever you come across this, just ask questions, okay, and qualify, because these guys will tell you, oh, we've got all of these systems in place. We've got loads of leads coming through. We've got a 40% closing rate. These are very bold claims, okay? 40% closing rate across a company as a whole, when they've got a sales team, if they're operating at a 40% closing rate, that's really good, okay? It's kind of like, the hygiene standard is kind of like 25, 30%, maybe even a little bit lower. So 40% is well above average, right? So they told me they had a 40% closing rate and 100 leads a day coming in. And I thought, you know what? That sounds really good. So I'm going to get onto this offer. I'm going to see how it goes. It's going to be an extra couple of grand a month. It's going to be great. Okay. So I, came into this offer with basically, I gave it my all, right? I showed up every single day. I put in the work. I booked them loads of appointments and I was consistent and I was hammering it every single day, performing at my absolute best. Okay. Guess how many appointments I booked in 2 months? I think 60, right? Which already isn't that great. The lead flow, surprise, surprise, wasn't that great either. There were probably about 100 people coming through a day into these Instagram accounts for me to message, but they weren't all qualified. They were all like random accounts or, random spam accounts. There weren't really any qualified leads for me to message. So I was kind of mugged off on that front, right? So I booked 60 qualified appointments in about 2 months. Guess how many of those leads closed? So how many of those leads actually paid for the program? 2 leads. And guess how much money I made for 2 months of hard work? $700. Yep. This is what will happen if you don't understand the payment structures, okay, in this space. And this honestly nearly made me quit appointment setting because it was something that I didn't understand and it left a bad taste in my mouth. I just spent 2 months of work on this offer to get paid $700. I may have just stayed at my job. I would have made more money staying at my job than I would have done on this offer, right? And this is why a lot of people kind of have a bad taste in their mouth for appointment setting, because they think they have to either, one, start out like that, or two, they think that's all it is, where you kind of get the scraps of the company for the work that you do, right? And that's only the case if you don't know what you're looking for. So the story that I've just told you there, I got sent this offer that sounded amazing on the surface, but when I was actually on the offer, it turned out to be kind of a waste of my time. This is something you need to learn to essentially just put it into your head that whenever you come across an offer that sounds really good, do your due diligence and ask serious questions before you go any further, okay? If it's a pay per sale offer, I'd already be running for the hills anyway. But even if it's not, you need to ask about the lead flow, the sales process, the conversion rate, the reviews, how long have they been in the business for, the success rate with clients. All of this stuff is really important. Don't just look at an offer as it is, see, oh, we're going to pay you this amount of money, we've got all of this stuff, and then believe it, okay? If you're going to hop on calls with these guys and discuss working with their company, you need to understand you need to ask certain questions, because otherwise you can be mugged off, especially as a beginner, because these guys know that you're not really going to know what you're talking about. So for a pay per sale offer like I was still quite inexperienced. I had never come across an offer where it's pay per sale, and I hadn't really been in the position where I needed to qualify to that extent. So I kind of believed it. And luckily I had positive experiences before that of being paid very well, because otherwise, like if I just started out with that offer, I think it would honestly be enough to make me quit appointment setting, okay? Because a lot of guys start off on one of these offers, they get paid $300 for 1 month's work of grafting, and they realize, oh, it's actually more profitable for me to stay in my job. So it's really important that you understand all of these questions to ask, okay? And the main things are, how successful is the business? How long has it been running for? Okay, what's the success rate with clients? What's their closing rate? How many appointments do they book in a month? How many appointments are showing? And what is the payment structure? Okay, is it fair? Are they paying you for something that is actually in your control? For example, pay per show, it's not really in your control. They might make it sound like it is. It's not really in your control, because if you think about it, you book the appointment, their systems are what gets the lead to show up, okay? They have to have like phone call sequences, email reminders, follow-up texts, all of this stuff. That's not your responsibility. Now, if it's discussed in the role that you have to call them up and you have to message them all of this stuff for the follow-ups, that's fine. Then of course that makes sense, okay? But still, even that, like, you're not in control of getting them to show up, because you can get them to book in and then they can change their mind based off the testimonials they see from the company, or they can change their mind because of some reason for, I don't know, some bad system the company has in place. They could change their mind for that, right? Pay per show and pay per sell, you need to be very careful of, okay? You need to understand these offers, and you need to understand, like, if you're going to go for pay per show, at least, that's something that, like, I'd still kind of avoid that at all costs. But if you're going to go for that, ask these questions specifically that I've just said there. But pay per sale especially, I'd run for the hills. But the only time I'd ever entertain it is if it's actually a really credible company and they've got proof of results and they have proof of appointment setters making good money with that same payment structure before you came in, okay? So you need to understand this, because this story, honestly, if I had just experienced this in my first couple of weeks or couple of months of appointment setting, I probably wouldn't be here right now, and I probably would have quit my job. I probably would have quit appointment setting and went back to my dead-end job that I hated, okay? So let this story kind of inspire you to not take everything at face value, okay? A lot of the time, especially if you go into Facebook groups or just like anywhere you can find these positions really accessibly, right? These diamond positions you're not going to find on a Facebook group like that, okay? You need to understand, you need to have a really good look at what you're looking for, because unfortunately there's a lot of guys in this space that don't want the best for you and they want free work, okay? And this is a clear sign of a company that's not doing very well, and a company that just wants free, cheap labor that they got out of me. So keep that in mind, right? So there's a lot of things like this. There's a lot of stories I can give you that can relate to people that are in the same position or people that are just starting out, because you need to understand there's a lot of mistakes that you're going to make if you don't have someone holding your hand. If you don't have someone holding your hand or showing you the right way, you're going to make these mistakes and it's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth, and you're going to risk burning yourself from appointment setting, okay? So for that reason, I'm going to do a quick plug. If you want to learn how to do this properly, like I said, I've been in this for 2 years. I've booked well over 1,000 appointments. I've worked with people like Charlie Morgan and William Brown, where they had no idea who I was beforehand, and I had no leverage, and I still managed to land clients like that. I know exactly what I'm doing. I've done this for 2 years. I've booked well over 1,000 appointments, generated over $1 million online, and worked with big names such as these two. I know how to do this again and again and again. I've done this for my clients. So if you want to learn how you can do it too and quit your dead-end job pretty predictably and very quickly, right? There's going to be a link down below in the description. I want you to book a call with me and I'll run you through exactly how I can help you do it. Now, full transparency, it is a sales call. So if you don't want to be sold to, then don't book it. But if you are actually serious about making this work and not making any mistakes that you would likely make without having someone hold your hand, then book the call down below and I'll run you through how to do it.